Again, the website, www.lastfrequency.com. It's lastfrequency.com. And, all right, well, let me tell you a little bit about my guest tonight. We're going to get right to it. I've had enough time wasted here. So my guest tonight is Jacquelin Smith. She's an internationally known animal communicator. She is a light legendist, author who lives in Columbus, Ohio. She's been communicating with star beings, interdimensional beings, and animals since early childhood. She communicates with a wide variety of star races, including tall whites, Zeta Masters, mantis beings. Oh, there's a whole bunch of them here. Dolphins and whale-like beings, celestials, Zetas, Syrians, and many other races. Jacquelin is the author of Animal Communications, Our Sacred Connection with Animals, Star Origins, and Wisdom of Animals. Anyways, we're going to get more on her. By the way, her latest book is Star Being in the Mirror, My Journey as a Hybrid. Barbara Lamb and Mary Rodwell wrote forward for the book. And we're going to bring her on, talk to her a little bit about her experiences. And again, folks, I apologize. You know, it would have been really easy just to say, well, it's not working. That's it. I didn't give up tonight. I just kept going. And boy, oh boy. Yeah. So anyways, the challenges will be here. And, so every now and then we'll just leap over them, kind of like Josh Allen, which was disappointing he was this week. Bills Jets. All right, so let me get over. She's been sitting waiting. Thankfully, she has stuck around. So Jacquelin Smith coming up here, folks. We are dinging. Good evening, Jacquelin. How are you tonight?
I'm fine, Mike. How are you?
I am doing fine. I want to apologize for your long wait. I do apologize. Had some things going on, some issues over on this end, but we got them worked out. What else is new, right? So
That's great. I thought, I tried to call a couple times and couldn't get through, and so I'm glad we're on now. So I do have an external mic hooked up.
Okay, and you sound good to me. We're live, and I thank you for your patience tonight and not saying, well, the hell with it and take it off. So
oh no, I wouldn't do that.
Anyways, welcome to the Last Frequency. I'm definitely looking forward to speaking with you. I guess let's start out. Maybe give us a little bit of background. I did read off your bio. I think it's very interesting, to say the least. How did all this get started for you?
Well, it's really been a lifelong journey, and you could say that it started very early on when my mother was taken aboard a starship, and they injected me with a cocktail of 7 different DNA from 7 different races. And so that's how it all started. And so I was actually genetically altered. And that's why I refer to myself as a hybrid. In the bigger sense, we're all hybrids. But I'm referring specifically right now to having been genetically altered by the star beings. And so that's how it all got started.
I see. So you've experienced this. This has been a lifelong thing. When did it all? I mean, when did it first start? What, like, you were a child, or?
Well, again, yeah, it was when I was in the womb, they injected
Oh,
me.
in the womb. Okay, I missed that.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, when I was in the womb, they injected me with this cocktail. And I actually remember when I was in the crib having star beings around me, and that they were trying to help me to adapt to my body and to the earth plane, because they were a little concerned about me. I definitely, on a soul level, agreed to come in,
Hmm.
but I think there was a part of me that was maybe wanting to change my mind after I had come here in a body.
Yeah, I think a lot of us might have turned the other way had we known. Um, so this went on for. I guess this is what has inspired you, obviously, to write your book, correct?
Oh, definitely. My intention is to share my experiences with others who have had maybe similar experiences, to help support them, and also to present things maybe in a little different way. I've been very fortunate because I've had very positive experiences with the star beings rather than negative experiences. So I would love for experiencers to come into a new place, and many are, that this can be a positive experience, and they don't have to be in fear because perhaps of the way they might be perceiving their experiences.
I see. So, as a child, and so this continued for a while. Now, you would actually go on these starships, correct?
Yes, actually, starting around the age of 3, I was taken aboard a starship, and it's the same starship that my mother had been taken aboard. And so I actually started getting to know the tall white Zeta Masters, who are the ones, we could say, kind of running the show on the ship in some ways. And so I got to know them, knew them in past lives, and they're very loving, very kind. And so at the age 3, I was on the ship and attending classes with other children there. There were 8 of us who um, actually, it was a very wonderful experience for me, because in the classes, first of all, we were allowed to be children, which was wonderful.
That is wonderful.
And they actually loved it when we laughed and played, and had the wonderful opportunity to learn a great deal, telepathy, to really enhance those skills that I have along with the others. The 8 of us could connect telepathically,
Yeah.
and there was no problem with that. Some of the children were from other countries, and so we all got along very well. They would ask us sometimes to create, well, let's say, images of animals or trees or something that we were familiar with, and to project them on blue screens that were in the room with us. So this gave us practice with sending our thoughts out, and helped us to develop our telepathy. And one experience I absolutely loved, we did this more than once, where the group, we would sing and we would create geometric forms in the air. They were bright neon colors, just gorgeous, and they would just float in the air. They were holographic images, so we were being taught how to create these different geometries, and also had the incredible experience, our whole class did, of being placed, we could say, in a another dimension or a subspace bubble, literally outside of the starship. So we were like in the middle of the space in this bubble. And the star beings were teaching us about the planets, the stars, the different dimensions. They were also showing us Earth and saying to each of us that we all had a mission that was uniquely our own, and how important it was for us to be paying attention to the lessons and to learn what we were learning, because we had agreed to be on Earth and to share the talents and skills that we had. So for me, that evolved into, early in my life, I became an animal communicator. I've been doing that over 40 years professionally, and then a star being communicator and a psychic, and I've done this work for more than half of my life, and I absolutely love doing the work. I feel like it's what I'm here to do. And so they were teaching me all along. So was starting to go on the ships at 3. I was on the starship ongoing, actually off and on up through my teens. And I've even been on the starships now, which I'll talk, one experience I can talk about a little later.
Okay.
If you want me to, with my Thanksgiving experiences, where I ended up on a mothership and also ended up on the starship I was as a child. And what was really fun on the starship is, you could say, I had a nanny who I called Sandman, and I just adored him. He was Arcturian Zeta, and he watched over me. So we would play games together. We would create energy balls and throw them back and forth. And also we played hide and seek. And that might sound kind of funny, but what I was learning was, like, I would hide. I would used to be hide behind these tubes that had blue fluid in them. And so telepathically, I could hear Sandman saying to himself, "Where's Jacquelin?" And I could hear him, and then I would laugh, and then he would find me, and then he would hide. And I telepathically was thinking, where is Sandman? So what's interesting about these beings that I had the opportunity to be with on the ship is they are very interested in emotions. They're very interested in our creativity and how we play. And so there were a number of instances where they watched me play some games, maybe with some other children, and did patty cake, and I actually ended up doing that with one of the hybrid children on the ship, which was great fun.
So this, not to interrupt, but this never came off to you as strange or, unusual, so you weren't, because it's been happening since you were in the womb, so it came off as, I guess, normal to you, right? I mean, what did your Earth parents think, or anybody around you think about this? Did you tell them about what was happening? And, I mean, how'd that go?
Well, actually, my parents were, I'm going to say they were unaware of this, but on a subconscious level, my mother, I think she knew, because now and then she would make a comment to me like, "You're different." So,
yeah, just a little bit.
But consciously, the star beings blocked their memories because I don't think they would have handled it very well.
I see. Now, when you did go on the ship and you were away maybe for class or what have you, was it a physical thing? Did they take you physically? So, I mean, would somebody have opened the bedroom door maybe and missed you, or was it something like an out-of-body experience kind of, where they took you that way? How exactly did they, when they took you or when you went with them, how did that happen?
So when they would come to take me, what they did was they just kept my parents asleep. They have a way of doing that.
Yeah.
And so I would be there at night and then come back before morning. So I would be in the bed in the morning. But I was on the ship a lot of times physically. And there were some situations where I was taken on the ship for them to support me at various times in my life. For example, after a near-death experience I had at 6, they came and along with some angels and took me on the ship to help heal my body. I had fallen down the steps and had hurt myself. Mm-hmm. And so they were healing physically the things that had happened. And at that point, honestly, even then, because it's so beautiful in those other realms, and for me being on the starship, it's, to put it simply, it's like being in heaven, because on the ship I was on, it was unconditional love. And I didn't want to come back to Earth.
Yeah,
and
who would?
I was like, I don't want to go back. And they said, no, you need to go back.
Yeah. Now, are they, well, they must be, I guess, the beings that you interacted with, peaceful kind of people? I mean, are they like us?
Gosh, that's an interesting question. So, I experienced unconditional love. There were various races or cultures of beings on the ship. There were, well, I call them my star parents, Amethans, Azu, tall white Zeta masters, not to be confused with the tall whites in Nevada that Charles Hall talks about.
Right.
And there were mantis beings, there were Arcturians, There were beings who looked like how we would interpret it as plants and animals on the ship as well. And so I only experienced unconditional love from these beings, and my perception is that they are very highly evolved beings. They understand oneness. They understand what that is about. They do not have judgments like about good and bad. That's not even in their way of thinking.
Oh, okay. Well, I wish we could, a little bit of that would rub off here. That's for sure.
I agree, because it is different from what I've experienced with humans here on Earth. And there are many people who love deeply, but the pure, unconditional love that is constant, that's what I had the opportunity of experiencing on the ship, where with humans, at least I have not experienced that in a steady, constant way, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, humans are kind of like, and not even being funny about it, they're kind of like a wild animal. You know, when you walk up on a wild, you just never know what you're going to get. You know, you're either going to get bit, sprayed, or it's going to be a good experience. And you know, so humans are a little different in that aspect. And I wondered, you know, I mean, you know, how do they choose who will be? I don't know what to call it. I guess you wouldn't. Would you consider it being abducted, or?
You know, I do not use that word, because my soul chose to have these experiences in this lifetime. I don't look at myself as a victim. Some people do, and but the soul really, from my perspective, decides what experiences to choose for that lifetime. And there's always a purpose and a reason, you know, for that. And so it's not been an easy journey for me at all, because as a child I felt very lonely, and even growing up just felt very lonely, out of place, you know, didn't belong, and what am I doing here? And so, but my understanding, and in fact the star being said this to me on the starship, you chose, you know, to go through these experiences. You have chosen in this lifetime to connect with us, because I'm in communication with them pretty much every day, you know, different beings, and to live your life in the way that you live your life. You chose this. They were telling this to me when I was a little girl. I remember looking out of this window that was like, I think it was octagon shaped, and they were holding my hands, talking to me and saying, you know, you have chosen to be the in hybrid form, in the way that I refer to it, with being genetically altered, to help wake people up on Earth, to help the evolutionary process. And so they were just reminding me of what my soul had chosen, which for me I resonated with. I mean, I resonate with that now, that it made perfect sense. And sometimes when people feel they've had bad experiences, sometimes the beings are actually doing healing work on them. They are not trying to harm them, but they are trying to do healing work. But the person can be freaking out because the mind, of course, the mind ego thinks it's being harmed in some ways, and these beings certainly are different looking. So, it just, I think it's a matter of perspective. And again, I was very fortunate,
Yeah.
in some of my experiences later on. They did some surgeries on me and that. And had I not had all these experiences, I might have been pretty freaked out about it. So, um, earlier on in my life, I did have some fear, not of my star family, but of some other beings who I didn't know who they were and what their intentions were. So I had a difficult time with some of that, but I, my focus is on communicating with the beings who we could say serve the light and who are the most evolved.
So when did it become? When did you start talking about it, and when did you know it was okay to start talking about it? I mean, and I guess there's 100 questions that wrap around my mind on this, and like, how did people around you take it when you first start telling folks about this? So yeah, when did you first start, spreading the word, I guess?
Well, I've always led a different kind of life with being a psychic and animal communicator and all of that. But it took me a little while to talk about it because I was wondering, is this safe to talk about? And people are going to think I'm nuts,
Yeah.
want to put me away somewhere, which unfortunately, when some people have talked about this and talk about this, they are either drugged by their parents or put in an institution somewhere. So I was very cautious for quite a while. But I've been, there were certain people who I were talking to, who I was talking to about this, and they understood and resonated with it. So that was very helpful for me. But I've been speaking probably about star beings, for 25, 30 years.
And it's changed a lot in how people accept it, right? I mean, it seems like 25 years ago, people might not have been so apt to, I guess, to believe it or even entertain it, and even further back than that. But nowadays, it seems to be a little more acceptable, is it not?
Oh, definitely. There are many people who are waking up to the fact that they are experiencers, and again, that's part of the reason why I wrote my book. And many people who I know, people I work with, are embracing it and not seeing themselves as victims or being, quote, abducted. Although I do work with some people who do feel very fearful and that really question the experiences. Were they positive or not? And so I try and support those people in my work as a certified hypnotherapist and just as an experiencer hybrid myself.
Yeah, people tend to fear the unknown, and I think that would definitely fit. Now, you were given messages, correct, to share with humanity. What type of messages were those?
Well, they tend to be very simple, but when we really think about it, they're very profound. And I've actually been teaching these messages for many, many, many years. I mean, probably from my 20s, is that, one of their key messages is that we're all one, to understand that what we do to someone else, we do to ourselves.
Yeah.
And in a broader sense, being all one, when I look at a cat or a dog or a horse, a tree, or a star being, they are me and I am them. And they understand that at a very deep level, where humans tend to still get caught in the separation, that yes, we're all individuals in terms of being in these bodies and that, but if we drop these bodies, we're all light and we are one. And that's one key message that they love to share. And one of the other ones is to, my star family is always saying to me, keep things simple and live from the heart. And so from my perspective, again, with all the ascension process that we are walking through, being in the heart, living from the heart, is what it's all about love, about the unconditional love, and not getting caught in the mind, ego kinds of things, categories, and in the bigger sense, they see the cosmos as one being.
Yeah. I see. Okay. And well, now you've also had memories of several near-death experiences. You've had quite the existence, I'll tell you. So how are the near-death experiences? And even having hybrid children, I'd like to get into that in a minute as well. So yeah, tell me a little bit about the near-death experiences, and how do these beings? What are their thoughts on death? What did they tell you about that?
So, with the near-death experiences, one I talked about briefly at 6 years old when I fell down the stairs.
Yeah.
And they came and took me to the starship and worked on healing, and they were saying to me, well, you need to go back because you have agreed to be on Earth to share, your messages and to be a bridge to help people understand star beings and to offer the human perspective, but the star being perspective as well. And so they talked to me about that. It was being in a place of unconditional love. And I thought what was really wonderful is that the angels and the star beings were together on the ship. So that, the angels and the star beings, they all work together. And I think that's really important. And in terms of death, from the human perspective, humans fear death because of losing the body. But the star beings do not perceive that in any sense. I mean, depending on what race you're talking about, some of them, the bodies are in, they're simply like a container. They understand that their spirit is in this container, but they're not attached to the container. like we are to our bodies.
Yeah, they probably live longer than us too, so they've got they got more time to get sick of it all and say, oh, when death does come, good,
Yes, yes, they do live in a much longer lives in terms of how we compare it to the human,
Oh,
to
yeah.
how long we live. Yeah, they go on much longer.
Okay, and how about the hybrid children? Did you say you have hybrid children?
Well, yes, I have about 40 hybrid children, and when I was a teen, um, they implanted me with some embryos. And then what they did was they would come. Actually, they took me on the ship. And what they have this amazing way through, I'll call it like it's frequencies and light, to just simply lift that embryo up and out. For me, there was no pain, no discomfort. It's something that they just did, and then they also later on took strands of my hair, which has my DNA, and they said, well, we can make many hybrid children from a strand of hair. So I'm kind of sharing, I guess, some ways how they create the hybrid children. And so I actually had the experience, I call them my Thanksgiving experiences, in 2013. And I had three embryos, we could say, implanted like in my aura, and I could see them, I could speak to them. And so at some point I asked them to remove them because I was getting too attached to them. And so they removed them. And another way that they can create is when I was on the ship a little later on in my life. There was a mantis being, and so the mantis and I merged, like our energies just merged. And then, because this is how they create their babies, their children, they just merge energetically. And right before me, there were these mantis hybrid, I'm going to call them babies. And then right before my eyes, like in moments, they were then teens growing into adults. So they know how to, they can grow them up quickly, or they can grow them up more slowly, because the mantis beings are master geneticists. And so they understand all this, but it was a very blissful experience because I dropped my body, that being dropped his or her body, and then our energies just merged, and then created these hybrid mantis beings.
Okay, all right. So, Jacquelin, I want to take a break here, and then we will come back and continue this conversation. So, hang on with me for a few minutes as we take this little break here. And interesting stuff, folks. Very, very interesting. My guest tonight, and yes, we are live. My guest tonight is Jacquelin Smith. And she is the author, amongst other books. Her newest is Journey as a Hybrid. Yeah, or start being in the mirror. My journey as a hybrid. And she's telling us about it here tonight. And I will a little bit later take calls. Hey folks, MV here. To play it safe, I'm offering partial shows here on YouTube due to the very strict policies of YouTube. I don't think anyone expects me to go 3 solid hours without violating something. So enjoy this very informative program and be sure to get the rest of it 100% free on my website archives page at www.lastfrequency.com or on my video archive page at that same address, www.lastfrequency.com. I've not forgotten about you here on YouTube, so please do not forget about me and support me on other platforms. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, mewe, and Truth Social. All the information can be found on my website, lastfrequency.com. Keep your eyes posted to the sky because you never know what you may see, and keep your ears posted to this broadcast because you never know what you might learn.